We had made it to the Hickman Bridge Trailhead, and to get to Cohab Canyon Trail, you have to cross the road. We had made it to the Cohab Canyon Trail, and now let's look at our plan. So, we are currently just east of the Hickman Bridge Trailhead, and we are going to go about a half a mile along the Cohab Canyon Trail until we get to the Frying Pan Trail. And then we are going to go along the Frying Pan Trail for a long way until we get to Cassidy Arch. Once we get to Cassidy Arch, we are going to turn around, and once we get back to the Cohab Canyon Junction, we are going to do the North and South Fruita overlook, and then we are going to go back to the trailhead. We are now starting the hike. We had made it to the start of the Frying Pan Trail, and now we are going to climb out of this canyon. Once we get to the top of the canyon, there will be a really good view of the trail. We had gone about a half a mile, and it looks like we have 3.5 miles to Cassidy Arch. We are now officially out of the canyon, and now we are going to climb up even more. In about a quarter of a mile, we are going to crest the ridge, and once we get over that ridge, we will descend down into another canyon. And here is our hiking status. We had made it to the crest of the ridge, and now we are descending down into the canyon. And then once we get to the bottom, we are going to climb back up to that point over there. Over there is the ridge we went over and came down. Once you come down, there's a super sandy wash you have to cross, and the place we are standing at right now is about a third of the way up to the second ridge. Up ahead is the second ridge, and once we get to the top of that, it should be all downhill until Cassidy Arch. We had made it to a second ridge. The climb up here is really steep and long. This is probably going to be the highest point on the hike because it flattens out here, and pretty soon we will start descending. We also only have 1.5 miles to Cassidy Arch, and here is our hiking status. It is kinda hard to see, but right in front of us, there's a bighorn sheep. Right here, there's another bighorn sheep, but it's perched on a rock and it's easier to see. Down there is the Grand Wash Road, and that is the road you would take if you want to do Cassidy Arch the easier way. And now, we are going to start our steep descent to Cassidy Arch, and here is our hiking status. We had now made it to the small trail that leads to Cassidy Arch. We are getting super close. We only have a half a mile. And over where that rock outcropping is where we came, and right around that corner was where we saw the bighorn sheep. We had made it to Cassidy Arch, and it looks very cool. It also looks like you can walk on it too. So we are gonna go over there, and here is our hiking status. Over here, you can see the Grand Wash Road again. It looks like we are very close to it. We are now standing on the arch, and it looks like we are pretty high above the ground. We are now heading back, and once we get back to the junction of the Cohab Canyon Trail, we are going to do the North and South Fruita overlooks. Made it back to the junction, and now we have to climb a bit to get to the place where we saw the bighorn sheep. had made it back to the place where we saw the bighorn sheep, and here is our hiking status. We had made it back to the pass, and now we have a long descent down to the wash, and then we have to go back up again. And by the way, this is the high point of the hike. The elevation is 6,500 feet. To the sandy wash at the bottom of the descent, and now we have to climb a lot to get to the next pass before we get back to the junction. We had made it back to the Cohab Canyon Junction, and now we are going to go about 250 feet on the Cohab Canyon Trail, and then we will go on the Overlook Trail for about a half a mile to get to the South Overlook. We had made it to the Fruita Overlook Trail Junction, and now we have to climb about 150 feet to get to the overlooks. Made it to the overlook, and down there is where the visitor center and campground is. After the hike, we will go down there, and you should be able to see this point where we are standing. And here is our hiking status. We have really come a long way since Cassidy Arch, and it didn't take us very long. It took us about 2 hours to get here. We are now going to the North Fruita Overlook. had made it back to the junction of the North and South Overlook, and the North Overlook should be about 250 feet from here. We had made it to the North Overlook, and the views of those tall sandstone domes in the distance looks very cool. And over here is the town of Fruita, which we also saw from the South Overlook. We are done with the North Overlook, and now we are officially heading back to the trailhead. We had made it back to the Frying Pan Trail Junction, and we are on the home stretch of the hike. We have about a half a mile to go. We had made it back to the trailhead, and I will give the summary of the hike when we cross the road and get back to the car. We had made it back to the car. This hike was pretty long to get to Cassidy Arch. There is an easier way to get to Cassidy Arch from the Grand Wash Road. The distance of the hike is only 2 miles round trip. And here is the summary of the hike. Our distance hiked was 9 miles. We climbed just under 3,000 feet, and our hiking time was 5 hours.